Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Inspiration of Your Life. It's great to be with you. It is a Monday. Yes, guys, it is a Monday, and it is June 8th, 2026. And welcome to the Inspiration of Your Life show. If this is your very first time here, I want to take the opportunity to say thank you and welcome. If you've been here one time, 5 times, 10, 20, 50, 100 or more, I'd like to take the opportunity to say not only thank you and welcome, but of course the words welcome back. I always do appreciate people that enjoy the quality and content of the show that I produce here. Really grateful to have you. If you guys are hungry, if you're thirsty, don't want you to be parched or famine, feel free to go grab yourself a quick snack and come on back and get comfy so we can start the show. All right. If you've been here before or not, don't forget to check out believemeachieve.com. That is after the show is over. You can check all of my short form, long form content, replay this show and many others by visiting believemeachieve.com after the show. So without any further ado, guys, let's kick this show off. But before I kick the show off, I want to share what this week is about, because this is a very important week with a lot of great information that I think a lot of you will definitely, how can I say, appreciate, what we're doing and, why we're doing this. And I think that's an important thing for a lot of people to understand, is that, when we think about, what's going on and we think about where things are happening, a lot of people don't realize all the potential that they have, in their own lives. So the week's master topic is about understanding compassion over perfection, is series 5, show 24. This is episode number 3, and we are talking all about how to believe in yourself when it's not pretty. Guys, this is a Monday, and like I said, welcome back to Understanding Compassion Over Perfection, the show where we talk honestly about growth, hearing, and healing, execution, and becoming, how can I say, ladies and gentlemen, the kind of person who keeps going even when the path is not clear. Hey, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, engineer, marketing specialist, video producer, podcast host, coach, keynote speaker, graduate student, passionate lifelong learner, and very grateful to now be a published author. Yes, very grateful for that. This week is all about something deeply personal, incredibly practical, learning how to believe in yourself when it's not pretty. Another important topic we'll talk about. Not when everything is polished, not when the results are obvious or known, not when everybody understands your vision, but in the messy middle, where growth is uncomfortable, progress is quiet, and self-trust has to be built, well, one step or one decision at a time. A lot of people, guys, think confidence comes first and action comes later. In reality, it works the other way. You act, you learn, you stumble, you adjust, and over time, you build confidence. So don't think you're going to get confidence right away. And your confidence will begin to rise, not quickly, but slowly. And belief is not always a feeling. Sometimes belief is a choice you make while your hands are shaking and your mind is full of, unpenetrable doubt, right? So today, I'm talking about what it means to keep moving, to keep building, and keep trusting yourself, even when perfection is appearing to be impossible. You see, this episode is for the dreamers, the builders, the leaders, the creators, and the people who are still trying to become something, right? So let's just dive right in, all right? I know you're ready. So growth feels uncomfortable up close. Yeah. And that's why sometimes people back away from it. When you're in the middle of change, it rarely feels graceful. It feels messy, awkward, and uncertain, but that does not mean that it's not working. Number 2, guys, progress is not always visible. Some of the most important growth happens quietly before you can measure it. Just because you cannot see it yet does not mean nothing is happening under the scenes, right? Number 3, belief is a decision. It's not just a mood. You will not always feel confident, and that is okay. What matters is that you choose to keep believing anyway. Yeah. Number 4, you can support your vision before proof arrives. You do not need full evidence to take the first step. Sometimes backing yourself is the first proof that matters. Number 5, Doubt is normal. Quitting is optional. Everyone doubts themselves sometimes. I think that's a normal thing. The difference is whether you let the doubt stop you from simply letting it pass through. And fear and movement can coexist. That's number 6. Fear and movement can coexist. So you do not need to wait until fear disappears. You can be afraid and still move forward at the same time. I know that seems hard, but trust me, you can do it. Number 7, your first version is allowed to be bad. Okay. Your first version is allowed to be bad. And nobody starts with perfection. The beginning is supposed to be rough, and that is part of the process. And I think a lot of people, I don't think people understand that it's not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. Confidence, guys, confidence grows, well, through action. Confidence is not built by overthinking. It is built by doing, learning, and repeating over and over and over again. Ladies and gentlemen, you do not need permission to begin. Nope, you don't. Too many people wait for approval that never comes. Your life does not require a green light from everyone else around you, even though you think you need that permission. Small steps, guys, beat the random big bursts. Consistency matters more than the occasional intensity. Small actions repeated over time create real momentum. And I know that can sound daunting for people, like, oh my gosh, what step do I take? Just take a small, consistent step that's going to help you get towards your goal. Now you're saying, well, John, I don't know what step to take. Is this going to be right? Is this going to be perfect? It may not be right. It may not be perfect. But you know what? You're going to learn on the journey. And have some faith in yourself. I think that's a real important thing. Have faith in yourself, because when you have faith in yourself, life changes. Well, life does change. So definitely enjoy that. Okay. You know the phrase, guys, I'll figure it out. It's very powerful. You do not have to know everything right now. A resilient mindset often begins with a simple decision to keep solving, to keep working, to keep believing. And our thoughts create our reality, okay? Our thoughts create our reality. Ladies and gentlemen, you can never just enter rooms once you only watched. The spaces you admired from a distance are not off limits forever. Growth means becoming the person who belongs there too. And I think that's an important thing, is that growth will happen differently in different people's lives. Let's dive into self-trust, shall we? Of course. Self-trust is built through tiny promises. Now, if you remember before, we talked about something very interesting. We talked about promises, right? And we talked about commitments. So promises are usually something that you make to someone else, but they may not be things you want. Commitments are things that you are wanting to do. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your inner confidence. Small wins matter more than people ever will realize. I think that's an important one for us to, put in the books. Invisible progress is still progress, guys. Just because no one applauds, says thank you, or gives you a standing ovation, does not mean it has no value. Internal change can be real as external results. You're probably closer than you think right now, but you're also probably second guessing yourself, saying, oh, I can't do this. I don't have this. I don't have that. And you're sabotaging yourself. You're kicking yourself in the foot. Ladies and gentlemen, when you are tired, the finish line can feel so far away, but often you are much nearer than your emotions make it seem. That few extra steps. I know doing exercises every day, whether it's push-ups or, whether it's, let's say that they're like half-ups, like crunches, or whether it's planks. And that few extra seconds is like, okay, you can do it. Just that few extra seconds is all it's going to take, right? Do not restart continuing. A lot of people lose momentum because they think they need to have a perfect reset. So they keep restarting over. They keep saying, all right, let's do it over. Or maybe you remember when you were younger, you were working on a sandcastle, it didn't come out right. Oh, I just want to start over again. But you keep starting over. How many times? I mean, eventually you get it right, but you're never going to have a perfect start. Okay. And you can't keep restarting every time. A lot of people lose momentum because they think they need that perfect reset. It's a fallacy. Often what they really need is to keep going, to keep realizing, oh, wait a minute, I can make this better. I can change this. Bob Ross, I'm not sure if you guys remember Bob Ross, an amazing painter. And I remember taking my very first, they call it paint and sip. All I had was just juice. And I remember going to quite a few of them. But my first one was I had the oil, the canvas and the oil paints. And I made a mess, okay? But then the instructor comes over and says, oh, no, we can just do this and we can do this and see how lovely that is. I'm like, oh, okay. So the point is you can make anything lovely. You can make anything beautiful. You just have to look at what you have and you have to just move from there, right? You don't throw away the canvas. You don't get frustrated because you didn't paint in the lines, right? Take a lesson, not the self-hate. See, failure can teach you something useful. It should not become a weapon you use against yourself, because if it does, it's going to disempower yourself. It's going to make you frustrated. It's going to make you depressed. It's going to kill any ounce of confidence that you had. Ladies and gentlemen, this is important. Other people may not understand your vision yet, and that is perfectly okay. This is not a sign that you are wrong. It just means your vision is still unfolding. And many times people don't want to support your vision because, well, it's not clear enough for them, right? It's not clear enough for them. Ladies and gentlemen, also wanting more is not delusional. I think that's an amazing quality to want more. Ambition is not the same as fantasy. Sometimes wanting more is simply a sign that you are ready to grow. And most people don't understand that. When you're getting these ideas to have these big dreams, it's not to make you depressed. It's not to say, hey, I don't have it today. It's to motivate you forward. It's to give you the fuel to push your butt forward, right? Lower self-abuse, not standards. You do not need to settle for less. You just need to stop speaking to yourself so harshly. You need to be kind. I have found that when you are kind to yourself, guess what happens? You become kind to others. That's pretty cool, right? It's a boomerang effect, right? Remember, ladies and gentlemen, remember what you have already survived right now. You're here, you're living, right? And you've gone through challenges, you've gone through trials and tribulations, and you're here, right? Your history right now contains evidence of the strength of the character you are. If you made it through this far, that says something about what you can do now. You might say, well, John, that was different. No, it isn't. The fact that you are now here, the fact that you are standing or sitting before me, the fact that you're able to even celebrate that moment tells me you've already got some resilience going for you. Ladies and gentlemen, another important one is your past self would be really proud of you right now. If you could talk to your past self, it would probably give you a hug, probably a big pat on the back. Think about the version of you that hoped for better days. You are further along than that version may have imagined. And I think that's something we all have a hard time doing. We all chastise ourselves. We all say, gee, we should have been here. We should be there. And I think that's nice, but it's also hurting our current progress, right? If I look at where I am now and I look at where I was 10 or 15 years ago, it's like, wow, I've made some big strides. Am I exactly where I want to be today? No. Do I want to keep getting further? Yes. But that tells me that I'm on the right path. Ladies and gentlemen, perfectionism just delays action. I've known lots of people that strive for perfectionism. I don't fault them, but I will tell you that perfectionism often causes procrastination, causes stagnation. It causes people to never finish, causes people to never start because they're never happy with what they've done. Waiting for perfect timing, perfect words, perfect confidence, perfect people can keep you stuck. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you a secret. Progress starts when perfection stops being the goal. Well, John, but I want to make it better. You can make it better. You don't have to make it perfect on day one, right? I've said before, done is better than perfect, and I mean that. You can always make something better. Aim for this, ladies and gentlemen. Aim for 1% better next time. You do not need an automatic transformation overnight, but if you could just get 1% better, you'll probably get better than 1%, but 1% better is good, right? Small improvements compound and create real change. See, most people think that if they only make a 1% change, that it's like nothing. But if you stayed stagnant, you would never change. So if you made a 1% change and you kept doing this every day, and that was your slow rate, you'd be 100% better in basically 99 more days after your first. So a continual progression. You need consistency and you need structure. You can't look at the fact, well, I'm not where I want to be today. I get it. But don't let that get in the way of where you want to go. And I think that's the one thing I want to tell you is that you need to be your own cheerleader. I know that sounds crazy, but you do. You need to be your own cheerleader. And ladies and gentlemen, you can rewrite your story mid-chapter. You don't have to finish the book, but you can rewrite it anytime. Whether you're an author like myself or not, you still are the author of your own life, even if it doesn't get into a book. No matter what your history looks like, your future is still being written as we speak and as we live. You, ladies and gentlemen, are allowed to pivot, to grow, and to change the direction you're currently on. But I know a lot of people say to me, John, I can't do it. And my question to them is why? Because maybe they're stubborn, because maybe they're trying to be a perfectionist, because maybe they're worried about what the Joneses said or the Johnsons said, because they're not having enough belief in themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, you are allowed to surprise yourself. Sometimes the people who limit you most are the old versions of you. Did you know that? Yeah, the old versions of you. I want you to do something for me, if you would please. Break that pattern. Break that pattern. Break that pattern. Break that pattern. Quick story. I was doing something a while back, and I was with a mentor, and I kept talking about something, and it was a negative thing. And I was talking to him, and we were just there, and I was going on and on. And he's like, "Tell me more," and I did. And all of a sudden, he took his like, we had war in his class, and he just threw it in my face, like, "Oh, what'd you do that for?" "No reason." I said, "So where were we?" "Well, I was telling you about what happened and how I never." "Oh, so I'm sorry." "Okay." So I was. Oh, so go ahead. I was going on. I was talking about my situation, your situation, great, and I was talking about the fact how I never. And I was like, "Geez, can you please stop it?" "Stop what?" "I don't know." He said, "Continue." "So I'm just saying that I'm never any." It's fine. I said, "Okay." I said, like, "Dude, like enough." Is it enough for what? What are you doing? I'm not doing anything. Hey, you keep throwing water in my face. You keep going down a wrong path. Why are you throwing water in my face? To break your pattern. And I got tired of it after a while. I'm like, okay, let's not go there anymore. Break that pattern, ladies and gentlemen. Break it today. Break it tomorrow. And see what unfolds. What now becomes possible. You see, the impossible becomes possible. Ladies and gentlemen, belief feels awkward. I know, before it feels natural. But that's how it works. I remember the first time I had to tie a tie. It was very awkward tying a tie. Or maybe, trying to tie your shoelaces. It didn't feel comfortable, did it? It felt uncomfortable. So you got to practice getting comfortable being uncomfortable. So belief feels awkward before it feels natural. And success doesn't feel comfortable in the beginning. Confidence can feel strange at first, especially if you are not used to claiming your space. But I tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you to keep going anyway. 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 Momentum comes from repetition. Okay. What you repeat becomes your rhythm. What did the guy do? He kept throwing water in my face. So I was getting tired of this water getting thrown in my face every minute. So I stopped doing that. Show up often, guys, but show up enough. And your life will start to move in the direction for success. Compassion keeps you in the game, guys. Harshness may push for a moment and make you feel like a hero, but it's not long term. See, compassion helps you endure. And kindness toward yourself is not weakness, guys. It is the fuel that will propel you forward. Keep going even when it's not pretty. That's what today's episode is about. It's not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to be comfortable. See, ladies and gentlemen, that is where real character is built. It's not in those polished moments, but in the decision to continue when it is hard. When it's hard. Hard means it's not comfortable. Hard means it's not something you maybe enjoy at the moment, but it's something you do. And then life changes for you. But it doesn't change overnight. You see, if you have all these beliefs and you change it, right? Now you're in the right mindset, but now you got to implement that mindset over some time. It could take a few weeks, could take 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or even more. Because now you're operating from that different plane. Before you were just thinking about it, now you're actually making decisions based on it. And I think that's a real whirlwind. I'll call it a complete 180. I won't say a 360 because a 360 would mean it would bring you back exactly where you are. So it'll be a complete 180 to turn you around from where you are right now. And that's important. And I think these are important things to know. As I get ready to close the show for today, we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about belief, right? We talked about how this belief in your life can shape things. And believing yourself when it's not pretty, when it's not easy, even when no one's around, maybe when it's lonely, you still got to do it. You, ladies and gentlemen, do not need to be perfect to be powerful. Stop thinking that. You do, however, need to start. You do not need to have it all figured out to take the next step. You don't have to know where the next puzzle piece is going to go, but you start. You work at what you can. And ladies and gentlemen, you do not need to wait until your life looks prettier from the outside before you start believing in the person you are becoming. The person you are becoming starts on the inside. It's very beautiful. That person on the inside will eventually come out on the outside. But we start from within. From what we start from within, naturally will come to the outside. Ladies and gentlemen, this whole week is about release. It's about movement. It's about truth. It's about perspective. It's about proof. Some people call it proof of concept. It's about having a hope. And I know hope is something a lot of people are like, where do I find hope? Where do I get hope? Where do I get the energy for hope? I think the best way to get hope is to close your eyes and to imagine the life that you've always wanted. But to believe yourself that you can do it and the renewal of you. You can rewrite your chapter, ladies and gentlemen, anytime you want. You know, I was watching a good movie the other day. You probably know the movie, Tommy. And his father had passed away, and it was all about this couple, basically. She had said she was marrying Tommy's husband, Tommy's father, excuse me. And this guy, Paul, who was going to be his brother, supposedly, was actually married to this lady already. So she was kind of lying so she could get his money. And the interesting thing about this, when we think about, reading people and stuff, and it was something very interesting. the guy that was mentoring him, person his father put in place to kind of hopefully keep track and hopefully get him on the right path. And he was happy with getting a D or D plus in college, but his mentor was saying his kind of the person he was working with there at the office, which was like one of the accounting people. He said that it's not just about the school stuff. School stuff's important, but he says right now what you need to be able to sell is not going to come from the classroom. It's going to come from street smarts. And how did he get him to do that? Well, he wound up hitting him with a pole or something, and then hit him in the face. And then they go to a restaurant, and he stops my face. Everything looks fine. And then the waitress comes over and, what happened to your face? He's like, I knew it. And she's like, the fryer's closed. And then he starts very casually just telling her about the situation and what happened. And she decided to go back and turn the fryers back on, even though they already were closed and off. How you read people can make a difference to how you're going to move forward in life. So reading the room is a big key, a big skill. And you choose the version of you that rises. That's what you have to do. And you have to be a little playful in life. That's important, guys. If you're not playful, people are going to take you like everything's so serious. You got to lighten up just a little bit. All right. When you treat life a little bit as a game, you'll find that people are not so, let's say, apprehensive around you. They let their guard down because you're being a lot more light. Ladies and gentlemen, you can catch the full episode replay at BelieveMeAchieve.com, as well as more inspirational content, again, at BelieveMeAchieve.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to encourage you to keep building, to keep learning, and please keep going. You see, the choice of you stopping and starting is no one else's but you. So because of input you get, don't you dare let that get you to stop. If anything, it should motivate you to keep going and realizing that there should be nothing that stops you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. Be sure to check out BelieveMeAchieve.com, and I'll catch you real soon. Be well, everyone.